So, Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 has just released, and with it, there's a lot of things to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is actually something that happened 2 days before the game even released. If you're not aware, the prototype, who has been the big mystery of Poppy Playtime, the thing that people have been wanting to see for years on end, was leaked 2 days before the game even released, which was very alarming to say the least. When this happened, people couldn't actually fathom that this was the prototype's final look, a jester-like clown thing. And a lot of people just went, you know what, this can't be the prototype, because a lot of people were expecting a more like gory, more like realistic look. But finally, when Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 released, we got our first look at the prototype, and funnily enough, it was exactly that design, and that for a lot of people was extremely lackluster. Personally, I am not really too bothered by this look. I think there's some quality in the jester like design. I think it looks eerie, but at the same time, I just wish that we got something a little bit more darker, as the prototype was this machine like thing and people were giving up fan designs, and I was really digging the like skull guy look. But I think the prototype does have a few qualities, like the voice is obviously just amazing. I love how they use the mesh of voices to make it sound real. But the person that leaked Poppy Playtime's prototype actually went on Twitter and said how he won, how people are now realizing that this was how the prototype looks. So there's a bit of discourse on the prototype and the design of it, and I'm like kind of in the middle. I don't mind it, but enough of that aside, I want to get into the main gist of things, which is in the gameplay. Now, Chapter 4 had a lot of issues. I think the game was extremely bloated, and this meant that the actual good stuff like the chases, the boss fights, the stuff that we want to see wasn't there, and in fact we just got these puzzles that made up like 80% of the game. However, when we did get the boss fights, the quality of those bosses were actually quite good. But in Chapter 5, the same thing kind of repeats itself. We get a lot of puzzles. In fact, this game is bloated to the brim with puzzle after puzzle, and I don't mind puzzles, right? But when they're just continuously force-fed to you, I just can't help but just be disappointed. And another thing I wish this game had was like an objective marker. You don't know how many times, and by the way, this could just be me being silly, but I just kept getting lost at the same areas. I did not know what to do, and I had to resort to going up to full gameplay guides to actually beat the game. I had no idea what I was doing. That's not really a criticism, but just something I wish that they would have added to the game. But then again, the main thing I want to talk about is just this game's puzzles. There's too many. It could have easily been cut in half with the amount of time that we actually see the main threats like Huggy Wuggies in the game for like 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And then you've got the prototype, who by the way barely makes a appearance in this game. Like, we'll see the prototype at least 4 times, and for someone who's been this big bad who was meant to be Chapter 5's main antagonist, I don't think that's enough time. Now, in the past, this is similar to what we got with, you know, Catnap and the other characters in that chapter, but Chapter 3 had other villains, not just Catnap. We had the teacher person who genuinely I forgot the name of, and you even had Dog Day, and that is what made Chapter 3, in my opinion, the most fun. In this chapter, you get Lily Love Braids, I think her name is, and I don't think she's bad by all means. I really like the parallel between Miss Gracie and Lily, how she's literally in her bedroom, which could mean that perhaps she's like connected to Lily Love Braids. But I will say the boss fight for Lily is my least favorite, I think, in the whole franchise. I think it's, first of all, very confusing what you're meant to do. Secondly, I feel like in this chapter specifically, you kept dying on bosses. Like, they were just too difficult for no reason. Like with Lily's, it's just about the game not giving you enough clues to where you're meant to go. And I think in a boss fight, especially a chase, you need to know what you're doing to actually escape and, you know, have a chance. And then when it comes to the prototype's boss, I think the whole thing of him punching the train is cool. But when you don't know actually what you're meant to do, it becomes extremely confusing. Like, a lot of times I just kept seeing red on my screen and thinking, what is going on? And not only that, but again, there's a part where you have to like freeze the ground and you're meant to like break this particular piece of ice in front of you. I thought you had to turn around and break the ice on the train, but it's like, why can't I break that ice? Why do I have to break the ice that you want me to break? I like, that didn't make much sense to me. I think fans are overall pretty mixed with this game. I've seen a few comments online saying that they wish that this chapter had more chases, had more of the prototype, and there is a bunch of like mixed like thoughts on it. Like me personally, I didn't find myself at all scared in this chapter as opposed to other chapters. I just found the environments, especially Lily's castle, just to be extremely non-scary. I think if this chapter just leaned into more of the, I don't know, horror that Poppy Playtime has built itself over, like, I don't know, if they just kept to what they originally had, like those type of like realistic but, you know, disturbing, you know, player environments, I think this chapter would have been a lot more intimidating. And quickly, as much as I enjoyed the Huggy Wuggy memory sections, I kind of wish that they weren't as long, and I wish that they weren't main game content, because these memories last for about 20 minutes, and I think that is just extremely bloated. Like, if this was side content that you had to discover, that would have been really cool, but instead they made it part of the main game, and yeah, again, it's just, I feel like it makes the game too long. But anyways, what do you guys think of chapter 5? I personally think it's mixed. I think it's definitely not the best chapter, but I don't think it's by far the worst. There are some good moments in this chapter, especially with the graphic quality going up. And I think that some of the mechanics that they introduced, like the fire, ice, and poison mechanic, is actually quite fun to play with. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed, smash a like. And if you never want to miss out on a future upload, then please consider subscribing as well. But anyways, until next time, take it easy and goodbye.